Hey everyone, Mr. Wooten here once again. This is problem number 4 from the Unit 1 study guide dealing with solving equations and inequalities. This problem, once again, we are solving for a variable. This variable is x. And if we look at the equation, we have 3 times x minus 8, in parentheses, minus 2x equals negative, and then they have parentheses, x plus 24. Alright, so we're going to try and get this equation solved for the letter x, see what its value equals. So first thing we want to do is we notice we have parentheses on the left hand side and the right hand side. So I want to see if I can simplify what's going on inside the parentheses first. X minus 8, it's a variable minus a number, a constant that does not have a variable. So I can't really combine that anymore. Same thing over here, x plus 24, cannot combine those into one single term. So there's really nothing I can do to simplify my parentheses. And there aren't any exponents, so the next thing I would look to simplify would be, is there anything I can multiply? So I do have a 3 times this quantity of x minus 8 in parentheses. And I also, even though there is no number here, I have a negative outside of this parentheses. That's like a negative 1 times all of this quantity inside as well, the x plus 24 in the parentheses. So I want to go back and I want to go ahead and simplify this expression by multiplying this 3 times each element in here. We're going to use the distributive property there as well as over here. Okay, this negative 1, we're going to distribute that negative as if we were multiplying everything by negative 1. So let's go back over here first. 3 times x gives us 3x. 3 times negative 8 gives us, it's a positive times a negative, that's going to be a negative 24. 3 times 8 is 24. Alright, then we're going to bring down the minus 2x. Again, I don't multiply this by the 3 because it is not inside the parentheses. It's not part of that quantity we're multiplying. Alright, and then on the right hand side we have negative 1 times x, that's negative 1x, or I could write that as just negative x. And tell you what, I'll just leave this as a negative 1 for right now. And then negative 1 times positive 24. Negative times a positive is a negative. And we have 1 times 24 is 24. Okay. So then I want to see, is there anything on either side that I can combine? So I notice right away I've got 3x's here, and then I have minus 2x's. So 3x minus 2x gives me a total of 1x minus 24. Okay, just keep the minus 24 here, and then leave this side exactly the same. There's nothing I can really do with that. Okay, again, cannot combine these constants, the numbers by themselves, with the variables. So now if I look at this equation, it's maybe a little tricky if you look at this and it's been a while since you've done one of these problems. But remember, if you have the same variable on both sides of the equation, your goal is to simply cancel out the variables on one of the sides. Now, it doesn't matter. Pick either side, and you can solve this equation for x. I'm going to cancel out this negative 1x here. Okay, it's a negative 1x, so I can cancel that out by just simply adding one more x here. And since I added an x to this side of the equation, I want to add an x to this side of the equation. Always make sure when you are doing the same thing to the other side, make sure that they are actually happening on opposite sides of your equal sign. Okay. Don't fall into the trap of adding an x here and then adding an x over here. Okay, that wouldn't be correct. So those cancel out. We're left with negative 24 equals, and I have 1x plus 1x. That gives me 2x minus 24. Okay, so now I have the x's on the same side. I just need to get all the numbers without x, all these constants on the right hand side. So I want to cancel this out. So the opposite of subtracting 24 would be to add 24. And if I add 24 there, I need to add 24 over here. Okay? So these cancel out, and I'm left with 2x equals, but then if I look over here, I have negative 24 plus 24. Those are going to cancel out as well. I am left with nothing on this side. Okay? Negative 24 plus 24 is simply 0. So if 2 times x equals 0, you may already recognize this. If not, you can keep going through your steps. The opposite of multiplying the x by 2 is dividing by 2. And so I get x equals 0 divided by 2, and that is 0, which should make sense because the only thing I can multiply 2 by to get 0 is 2 times 0. So that means in this problem, x must actually just equal 0. Okay? I can plug this back in to check my work. I could simply say, okay, 3 times 0 minus 8. And then subtract 2 times 0 equals negative 0 plus 24. Again, I just replaced the x's here with 0 now that I know what it is. And this is just checking my answer. So 0 minus 8 is negative 8. Okay, so I want to multiply that by 3. That's going to give me negative 24. Over here I had a minus 2 times 0. That's just minus 0. Okay, so this whole side of the equation simplifies to negative 24. Minus 0, it just doesn't do anything. It's minus negative 24 each time. Then over here I have negative 0 plus 24, so I want to take care of what's in the parentheses first. 0 plus 24 is just 24. And it's a positive 24 with a negative outside. That just makes it negative 24. And so, in fact, the equation does work out. Negative 24 equals negative 24. That means my answer was correct. So x must equal 0. Okay? Again, went through that pretty quick, but if you have any questions, feel free to leave a comment, email me, or just ask about it in class. If you understand it completely, then feel free to go on to the next problem.